Artisan Tube, good beginner cold wallet suggestions. I was debating between Tangem and OneKey. I know Tangem is mobile only. Beginner cold wallet. Well, if you're a beginner, I would probably suggest looking into a BitKey, depending on how beginner you are. Like if you're brand new and you're worried about losing your keys, then BitKey's a pretty good option. The other thing I would say to that, and like I talk about Bitcoin Well a lot on this channel. Obviously, they're a friend of the show, sponsor of the show. But with Bitcoin Well, like they don't hold any Bitcoin, right? As soon as you send them your dollars, your fiat, they turn it into Bitcoin. They don't hold your Bitcoin at all, which is a good thing. I think that, it's not for everybody, and that's kind of what I wanted to say is like, depending on how much you're spending on Bitcoin, depending on where you live, and depending on how much knowledge you have in Bitcoin, that should really determine who you're using to buy your Bitcoin from. Because if you're using a company like Bitcoin Well and you don't have a wallet or you don't know anything about protecting your Bitcoin, like that's how people get into trouble. I know that within Bitcoin, it's like not your keys, not your coins. So everybody thinks that they should never have any Bitcoin on the exchanges. But like if you did a study of new Bitcoiners who went the route of cold storage right off the bat, and the route that left their Bitcoin on exchange for a little while until they figured things out, I guarantee the people who took it off the exchanges and put it into cold storage too early lost their Bitcoin at a much higher rate than those who just held it on an exchange. So again, I know that Bitcoiners are going to hate this advice, and I know that this is like one of the main rules in Bitcoin is like get your Bitcoin off the exchanges. And I do agree with that. Once you're at a sufficient level of knowledge in Bitcoin, you should absolutely move your Bitcoin off the exchange. But you can get too far ahead of yourself. And if you don't know what you're doing in Bitcoin, if you don't know the risks involved with holding your own Bitcoin, knowledge-wise, then you can get into trouble. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen not a lot of people, but several people buy a lot of Bitcoin, move it to a hardware device, and then lock themselves out of that Bitcoin because they didn't know what they were doing. So just be careful with that. So that doesn't really answer your question yet, but I'm getting there. So what I would say to that is if that sounds like you, like if you're somebody who's just kind of starting your Bitcoin journey, like I'd say even if you just started in 2024 and you want to put a big chunk of money in, like you have to be very careful of getting too far ahead of your skis. So if that's the case, if that sounds like you, if you're just brand new to Bitcoin and you want to buy a bunch of Bitcoin, you're like, okay, I get this. It makes sense. Fiat system's dying. Bitcoin is inevitable, going up forever, Laura, kind of thing. Then buy Bitcoin, but use an exchange that can actually hold your Bitcoin there. And I actually met with a guy last night from Caleb and Brown. I was talking about them earlier this week on the show. Really good guy. They're over-the-counter exchange. And they've been around since 2016. They encourage people to take self-custody of their Bitcoin, but they'll also hold it. So they actually use a custodian called Fireblocks. And so that's what I would suggest. If you have like a lot of money that you want to put into Bitcoin right away, don't wait to like learn. Don't wait to get a wallet. Just get some and use a company like Caleb and Brown, and they can just hold it for you in the meantime. Like I love that little buffer of you putting in a bunch of money into Bitcoin, and then they'll just hold it for you. Like the odds of them losing that Bitcoin are not zero, but they're very close to zero, especially compared to you trying to do things too fast and, risk losing your funds in the process there or locking yourself out, forgetting your key, whatever. So again, I think that their minimum is like $1,500. So if you're looking for a larger purchase, you can just send a bank. The nice thing about Caleb and Brown too is they are an over-the-counter, and you actually get your own personal broker. Like it's not like logging on to Coinbase and you just buy and then they, never talk to you and don't answer your phone calls. With Caleb and Brown, that you actually get your own personal broker. So the fees are a little bit higher, obviously, for these reasons, but like it's pretty nice. So if you want more info on that, just reach out to me. All of my information every day is going to be in the show notes here. So again, if you're thinking about a bigger purchase and you don't really want to hold the Bitcoin yet to yourself, so you'll just buy it. They'll hold it for you for a little while until you can kind of get your feet under you, get things set up, and then you move it over from there. But in terms of like a cold wallet, I would say Bitkey would be my number one suggestion. But if you're but if you want to take true cold storage and never connect it to the internet, that kind of stuff, then you can use the Jade. I think a Jade's a really good beginner wallet. Cold Card's great too, but they can be a little bit challenging for new people. So that's why I like this starter kit from QuickBit. Dale was in the chat here this morning. He owns QuickBit in Regina. And so you can actually, in the show notes below, it says Bitcoin starter pack. And you can see this. You can get a Jade and you get the stamp seed as well. So if you're interested in that, just use the code 88SATS, 88SATS. And, very reasonably priced. This is kind of like the main thing, the stamp seed. That's the expensive part of this kit. But you absolutely need to have your private key on Titanium. So this is a great wallet for beginners. It never connects to the internet if you do it properly, and very easy to use. So that's what I would suggest to the Artisan Tube. Check that one out. And again, make sure that regardless of what device you're using, your main stack, that wallet, you have that private key on steel or titanium. This is steel, or titanium, I mean, which apparently is better. Either or though, steel or titanium. Yeah, send in some sats here, folks. Help us pay the heating bill this month. Good God. Minus 31 degrees Celsius. It feels like minus 41. And I'm not lying either. Like this is no joke. Oh, we dropped a degree. Here, I'll cover my 30 degrees feels like 40. Nice. That's what you want, right? Thrego, good morning. AJ says, damn, I had no idea about DC to Lightning. Yeah, I mean, that's it's where a lot of people get burned. Honestly, I've been burned myself. I spent 2 years and maybe almost 3 years in Bitcoin before realizing that I shouldn't be sending so many transactions to my cold storage. Bodhi says the worst thing is to self rug pull. Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. So lots to consider there. I mean, unfortunately, because everybody's at kind of a different point in their Bitcoin journey here, I can't really dial in too much on one thing at a time. So like if you hear things and you're like, okay, that doesn't really make sense, or shit, I'm doing that wrong, or I want some more information on that, just shoot me an email and we can set up like a 10-15 minute call quickly, see where you're at, see where you want to go, and see how we can help you get there in the most safe and efficient way possible. I'm happy to help. I just can't service everybody on a live stream. I think you know that, right?